Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight for this session. It is the third in a series of 4, where we talk about the fact that sport matters and that there are many things that we can learn and use from high-performance sport that we can use in our lives. So tonight, we're going to talk about work smart, lessons from high-performance sport that's transferable to the workplace. And this is something that I've been kind of a little bit of a special place in my heart because, you know, I come from a sporting background. And then a lot of times when I try to convince people that there is value in sport, but most people don't see that. But having worked in this field for more than 25 years, I see the power of sport. And tonight, I want to share with you some of the things that in my work and also in the research in terms of what's out there in the market, I want to share with you things that will help you at the workplace. And with the current pandemic going on around us, there's even more stress and pressure for us. So what can we learn from high performance sport? So tonight we're going to cover 4 things. One, we're going to look at the 5 C's to mental toughness. It's a very simple model that helps to break down this woolly concept of, you know, being resilient or being mentally strong in overcoming the challenges in life. The second thing is also looking at real people, successful athletes, Olympic champions, world champions, and also CEOs who use these skills in the way they apply in their lives and also in their work and their career. And then, after I've convinced you on those things, I'm going to talk about what are some of the strategies you can use. And tonight, I have pulled together quite a number of recent research that highlights the importance of what we're talking about tonight and to give you evidence-based research-based strategies that you can use. And then we're going to talk about what's the next webinar that we will have, the 4th and final one for 2020. So without further ado, let's talk about what mental toughness is, first of all. Based on the research that was done in 2002, Jones and colleagues interviewed elite athletes, Olympic champions, world champions, and what they found was a certain type of mindset or quality that allowed these people to be successful. And I quote, mental toughness is having the natural or developed psychological edge that enables you to generally cope better than your opponents with the many demands at work or lifestyle that work places on a performer, and specifically be more consistent and better than your opponents in remaining determined, focused, confident, and in control under pressure. So when you look at this definition, you will see some highlighted italic words. I replaced sport with work. And when you think about it naturally, I mean, in terms of your own context in the workplace, or if your workplace might be at home right now for some of us, it is no different. So the point I'm trying to make is that mental toughness is the ability to go through the challenges just like an elite athlete, an Olympic champion. And the psychological demands are no different. The only thing that has changed is actually the context. And we use the word opponents in sport. Opponents in the business world could be other competitors in the market that your business has to compete against. So in this case, we are all under pressure to some extent. As long as we need to achieve or accomplish something in our workplace, we are under pressure and stress. So the point is, how can we use some of these strategies used by Olympic world champions and apply it into our own lives? But I also wanted to let you know in a while that even successful CEOs, business executives, use these same skills. It's just that we don't talk about it. So tonight I'm going to put together a really nice framework and a package for you in a way that hopefully will help you understand this a lot better. But first, I need to talk about the research that we have done locally. And so there was one study we did in 2015, that's about 6 years ago, where we looked at across different industries, the level of stress that the working adults were experiencing. And also we measured their mental toughness. And this is one of the results we found. We found that people, the working adults, and by the way, they were aged between 15 to about mid-50s. So quite a wide range of age group. And also they were males and females, and they came from different industries. And what we found was quite interesting. We found that people who were mentally tougher had lower perceived stress, meaning to say that the more mentally tougher you are, the less stress you feel, the less stress you encounter in your workplace. So that's good news for us. So tonight's session is about raising your mental toughness via some of the strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. And this is one of my favorite charts. And it says here that the older you are, the stronger or the higher would be your mental toughness. Now, there's a Chinese saying, but I will speak it in English, of course, with translation in English. Yeah, in that is, an older person will normally speak to a younger person and tell him something like, I've eaten more salt than you have eaten rice. And so what that means is that because I'm older, I would have gone through many of life's challenges, difficulties, mistakes, setbacks, and even failures. And the fact that I'm still alive, I am mentally tougher than you because I've gone through much, much more than you. So in this case, this chart naturally reinforces that concept and makes good sense. However, the challenge for us is we cannot wait until we're 50 years old, 50 plus years old, before we develop that mental toughness. We got to do it now. And the good news is that, as you had seen in the definition just now, it can be developed. Mental toughness can be developed. And tonight, I'll share with you some of the strategies. And also, the third point in this research was that we found that men and women generally have about the same mental toughness, which is good. So we won't differentiate between men or women tonight. And I hope that, whatever gender you belong with or belong to, these strategies will apply to you straight out. So the other one is this. Because I'm using sport as the so-called metaphor, I like us to consider the fact that there's a parallel between sport and business or sport and work. I'd like you to take a look at this chart. And when you read from left to right, you'll realize that the qualities required or the characteristics and the demands required in sport is actually very similar in the workplace. So I give you a moment to read this very quickly. And that is, in sport, winning is important. In business, it's about results in terms of sales, KPIs, profitability. In sport, it's about juggling between different things in your life. I mean, sport people don't just play sport, they do other things. And some of them even work or study. So they have to juggle many things in their lives. Working adults also have to juggle many things in their lives. You have your family, you have, things that are important to you, and of course your work. And athletes need to be disciplined every single day. They have to train. If they don't train hard, their competitors will, and they will lose out when the day of reckoning comes. Likewise, as working adults, we have to work every day. Otherwise, we lose our jobs. Also, in sport, teamwork is so critical. Even if you're an individual sport athlete, your coach is also your team player. and whoever else that supports you. For example, a sports medicine doctor, a physiotherapist, a nutritionist, or even a psychologist like myself. We come in as your team to help and support you in your preparation for competition and also during competition. So likewise, in the workplace, your boss, your colleagues, your subordinates, they are also your teammates in trying to help you achieve the common goal of the company. And last but not least, athletes require to perform under pressure and stress. The spotlight's on them. If they make a mistake, a missed goal, a dropped ball, right? The whole world will know. The whole world will see you on TV. So much pressure right now. And in the business world, same thing. We have to meet targets, and therefore we are under stress. We are under pressure. And also for me, I'm online right now. So if I make a mistake, which I have in the past few minutes in some of the words that I've spoken, that adds the stress, isn't it? So naturally, in everything that we do, as long as we need to achieve something or accomplish something, there is potentially some source of stress. So what I'm trying to say here in this table is that the parallels between sport and business is actually the same. The only difference is the context, but the psychological demands are exactly the same. Exactly the same. So the 5 qualities that are critical for mental toughness, and based on the research and based on observations and also anecdotal comments and remarks made by athletes and also non-athletes, there seems to be a common thread, a common theme that cuts across all the domains. So it doesn't matter where you work and what you do, as long as you're performing under pressure and stress, and in this case, and the context tonight is about the workplace, then you need these 5 qualities. You need to stay calm under pressure. You need to stay focused and not be distracted by what goes on around you. And for some of us who are working at home, Netflix could be potentially a distraction. Confidence in dealing with, the limited resources you might have at home, or the discomforting situation that you might be in that might restrict your belief that you can complete your task at home, or even trying to go back to the workplace. I mean, there are many tasks that are ahead of us and that we need to do. And there was recent news paper comments that were saying that people are now working longer and harder to prevent themselves from losing their jobs. And that's quite scary. And so many of them don't have that confidence in themselves. So they, are finding ways, and hopefully tonight I'll share with you some ways to maintain or strengthen your own confidence. Overcomer is the quality of being able to overcome mistakes, setbacks, mistakes, and even potentially failure. And know this, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. I mean, even if you watch, TV presenters, they do make mistakes once in a while. Radio presenters, athletes, it doesn't matter what you do. There are potentially opportunities that mistakes come. And here's the thing. Some people, after getting or making a mistake, they generally get stuck. They're unable to bounce back. Or even in some cases, they lose their jobs. And then what happens, psychologically, they're just deflated. They just flatten out. And because of that, they dare not bounce back, or they don't have the energy to bounce back. And that's what overcomer means, is to overcome the setbacks, the disappointments, the mistakes that you're experiencing in your life right now, and overcoming it and not letting it hold you back. And that's one of the key qualities of mental toughness. And also, based on our observations, to become an overcomer, you need to apply the earlier 3 skills. You need to stay calm in the midst of pressure. You need to maintain that focus and not be distracted. You need to maintain also that inner belief and trust that things will come to pass. And you apply all of these 3 qualities in being an overcomer. And last but not least, we do not operate in a vacuum, nor do we operate alone. Even in sports, individual athletes don't do it alone. They have teammates, they have sparring partners, they have coaches, they have other people who support them and provide them help. And likewise, at the workplace, we need to be a good team player. because this helps us achieve our goals, the company goals, and also at the same time, we're supporting our colleagues, our teammates, so that they also in turn can help themselves and everybody achieves together as a group, as a department, as a company, or an organization. So these are the 5 qualities that are what we call equivalent to what I personally coined them as the 5 C's. So being calm is composure. Being focused is concentration, the quality of concentration. Being confident is confidence. Being an overcomer is a term we use, copability, the ability to cope with pressurizing situations and with setbacks and things like that. And then last but not least, being a team player requires cohesive skills or cohesion skills, interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, social awareness, social intelligence. These are some of the qualities in being a good team player. So you can see the 5 C's right across. It's just that on the right, on the chart here, you will see calm, focused, confident, overcomer, team player. These are the kind of, I call it the layman words, but the ones on the yellow words are what I term as the more scientific terms that we use. But either way, it doesn't matter. They're all talking about the same thing, just kind of different names or labels. So in a while, I'll be sharing with you people who have used these things, and I hope you won't be surprised by some of these comments. And by the way, a lot of these comments that are made are all publicly available. And so take a look at this, just quick, take a quick look and scan across the chart, and you will see, familiar faces, I am sure. And I hope you're not surprised by them. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go deep down into each one of these 5 C's. And for each C or quality, I'm gonna give 2 examples of elite athletes, because that's what we're using as a metaphor, and then 2 other business executives or successful people in the business world. Okay, so that you can see the same parallels apply in sport and business. Okay, so here we go. First one, right? Everybody knows this guy, 23 gold medals at the Olympics, Michael Phelps. Right? He said before the Olympic trials, this was before 2016, I believe. And also the London Games. Yeah. Before the Olympic trials, I was doing a lot of relaxing exercises and visualization. So you can see that he was using mental toughness, quality of composure in helping him stay calm. He's under a lot of pressure to win many medals for his country and for himself. And, I'm sure he needed to stay calm throughout the whole period of competition, isn't it? The next athlete that I want to talk about is not many people know, but those in the badminton world will know, Carolina Marin. She's a Spanish Olympic world champion, and also she's very well respected currently in this sport of badminton. She says, "I know what I need to do against her every time we play each other. Mainly in the first game, for me, it was about keeping calm and being patient. When you face in sport, when you face against a difficult opponent, a lot of times athletes get impatient because they just want to beat the person. And so one quality that she has, and hey, come on, she's an Olympic champion and a world champion also. She says, I got to be patient. And this augurs well for athletes when things are not going your way, right? And a lot of times people tend to get impatient. So when your time is not right, it is not right. Don't do it. Don't push yourself. Don't try to, be too smart, if you will. Okay? So patience is part of composure, the ability to stay calm, the ability to maintain that stability emotionally so that you don't fluctuate mentally or emotionally. Now, the next person will be a business person. But when I kind of prepared for this little slide, I was kind of, laughing to myself because this person used the same word as Carolina. Here we go. Everybody knows this guy? Founder of Amazon, right? And the world's richest man. Or is he the second? Well, I haven't checked his stats yet. But I think there's kind of some fluctuation here and there. But irrespective, a rich man at best, yeah? He said, we've had 3 big ideas at Amazon that we've stuck with for 18 years. And they're the reason we're successful. Put the customer first, invent, and the third quality is be patient. I mean, when I read this, I was like, whoa, I was blown away. I mean, for a businessman, this is one of the 3 ideas that he uses that makes Amazon successful. And when I compare him with Carolina, I'm like, wow, isn't that a parallel? Same exact word, patience. And that requires composure. And this man, everybody knows him in investing. He says, if you cannot control your emotions, composure, you cannot control your money. Wow. So what else must I say, or what else is there to say, right? You have 2 examples in sport, 2 examples in the business world, talking about the same quality of composure. In fact, if you ask me, this is the most important skill. Because when you're under pressure and stress, this is the one that often gets people off the track, literally. The second quality is concentration or focus. World's fastest man on land. We have the world's fastest man in the water. Now we have the world's fastest man on land. But he retired just recently, right? He said, worrying gets you nowhere. If you turn up worrying about how you're going to perform, you've already lost. So Usain Bolt talks about the fact that, you need to stay focused and staying positive. And that, by the way, staying positive is a form of focus because your mind could potentially wander around in terms of negative thoughts or worrying thoughts and things like that. Okay? This one not many people know if you don't play softball, but the Americans are, champions and world champions in this. Softball. Jeannie Finch. She says, I do my job on the mound and then what I can do at the plate. Always working on helping the team any way I can. So you realize that in softball, there are many things to do. But a good softball player, and in fact, any sport person for that matter, are required to focus on the task at hand and be able to do what they need to do and ignore other things that are not important. Now, in the business world, everybody knows this man. I'm sure some of you, in fact, most of you probably use his software. He says, only through focus can you do world-class things, no matter how capable you are. Interesting. One more business person. Oh, most of you also are watching it on his platform. If we want to have the biggest impact, the best way to do this is to make sure we always what? Focus on solving the most important problems and not on things that are not. So ladies and gentlemen, concentration is used also by world-class athletes and successful business people. Confidence, Roger Federer, right? I dreamed, tennis player. I dreamed, I believed, and really hoped that I could do it. So I put in a lot of work and it paid off. So in confidence, it's about putting the work, being well prepared, and going through the daily grind and making sure that you're giving the best you can. I mean, for us in sport, we spend 80% of the time in practice or training, and maybe only 20 or 30% of the time in competition. So the question now is, how am I making my practice time, my training time count for competition? And this is the quality of world champions, Olympic champions also. They, first of all, to have that belief, they need to do the homework. They need to prepare themselves. And this is a good quality that we see in some of these people. The next athlete, everybody knows this guy, and he has won quite a number of F1 races, particularly in Singapore. And we've seen him win a couple of races here in Singapore. And he's none other than Lewis Hamilton. He says, when I was a kid racing, I had adults telling me I was not going to do it. It's about not letting anything get in your way. Stay focused and have the self-belief. So interesting, he talks about stay focused, not be distracted by what's not important. And then he talks about having self-belief. Guess what? Self-belief is a quality of confidence. So he's now talking about concentration and confidence at the same time. So again, when we look at some of these comments made by these people, we notice that sometimes they do more than one of these qualities that we're talking about, which is great. Then it further reinforces for us the importance of what we're talking about. So now the next question, some of you are thinking, okay, so who are the business people? Let's see. All right, a rags to riches person, Oprah Winfrey. She said, you don't become what you want, you become what you believe. And belief is confidence, or associated with confidence. And Sheryl Sandberg, yeah? Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, she says, feeling confident or pretending that you feel confident is necessary to reach for opportunities. It's a cliche, but opportunities are rarely offered. They are seized. So we need to be confident in taking charge of the situation that we're in. And so, therefore, you can see again, 4 people talk about confidence, and you can see the pattern right across that athletes and business people think very alike, very similarly. The other one is being an overcomer. And I have a term, I call it copeability, the ability to cope with setbacks, mistakes, failure, and things like that. So Joseph Schooling, Singapore's first gold medalist at the Olympics, he says, sometimes you hit rock bottom, but everyone does at some point in their life. The important thing is to get back up, copeability. In fact, in the London Games, that's where he got disqualified, and that's a fact, by the way. And he was interviewed after that important race, and he actually said he wanted to quit swimming. Now, if he had quit swimming, Singapore would not have their gold medal today. But the good news is that he did not give up. He bounced back. He got back up. And because of that, Singapore saw our first gold medal in the 2016 Olympics. And Sherry Tan, a world-class bowler, a national bowler, she says the lanes were picking up really quickly or really early, and especially the left one. So I decided to bring up the surface on my resin ball and play in that area of the lane. So in bowling, to the untrained eye, lane conditions can change very quickly, and 2 lanes side by side in a bowling center can have 2 different kinds of lane conditions that a well-trained world-class bowler is able to play, and they might even need to use different kinds of bowling balls, right, in 2 different sets of lanes, which makes it a lot more complicated because it is a precision sport, and they need to be able to, well, get their strike. And a small margin of error is all they need to miss the shot. And so in this case, she was talking about the fact that the lane conditions were changing much faster than she had expected or wanted. But being a champion athlete herself, she was able to bounce back by coping with the change quickly and not getting angry or impatient or anything, and staying focused and being confident that she's able to overcome the situation. And guess what? She did. And that's how she wins big time. So we got 2 world-class athletes. In fact, these 2 examples are local ones, and we're very proud of that. Now let's look at 2 world-class business executives. Let's see, recognize them. Oh, some of you probably own his product too, huh? Sometimes when you innovate, you make mistakes, like in sport. It is best to admit them quickly and get on with improving your other innovations. So everybody knows this man, and he was kicked out of Apple. He came back in, and there was a period of time where they had so many products. Steve Jobs basically, threw a lot away, and he kind of created new ones like the iPad and the iPod Nano, and some of the other, things that we now take for granted. So again, you can see an example of someone who overcame failure in many instances and yet be able to be successful at the end of the day. And this is Jeannie Rometty, former chairman, president, and CEO of IBM, right? She says, you've got to keep reinventing. You have new competitors. You'll have new customers all around you. So the idea is that businesses today need to reinvent, which also means that your old ways of doing things cannot stay the same anymore. You have to change. You have to adapt. You have to cope, cope with the change, excuse me, right? So copability is about coping with change or coping with the need to change, coping with the competition. Your competitors are going to give you a hard time because they will find a way to get their customers. And if you don't do your part, your company, your business, or even yourself as an entrepreneur will lose out. And this is the way life has to be. We cannot run away from this fact. So, copability is such a crucial skill mentally. And lastly, cohesion or teamwork, skills or competencies. So this one's a great example where Asia won its first medal in a 4x100. I mean, when you look at the historical track record, right, Asia rarely wins anything. And this was one of the first few medals that Asia won. In this example, they won the silver medal at the Olympics. And this example was a classic in the sense that, or a landmark competition where Japan had such a great teamwork in that team, the 4x100, that if you watch the YouTube video of their race, they were almost like, in some people, they were saying in track and field, they were like robots, but robots in a positive way, that the precision timing of their baton passing exercise or activity, right, was so good that they shaved off so much time that they actually beat the Americans. Now, if you look at tradition, right, the Americans and Usain Bolt's team, they are the teams that always win the 4x100 meter race. Okay, and Asians rarely even make it. I mean, they might go into the finals, but they rarely make it into a medal-winning race. But this team changed everything. It was because they had excellent teamwork. And so, Asuka Cambridge said, "I'm really proud to have been part of a team in Japan." And again, the word, the use of the word team echoes right across in this statement. He didn't say I did it, It's his team and his teammates. Now, this is interesting. The two sports that I'm showing you now, technically are individual type sports, and Taekwondo is an individual sport. And this world champion in 2019, last year, said this: "I wanted to take the gold medal home to my parents and my coaches. They have supported me since I started practicing the sport, and it was all for them." All for them. The acknowledgement of the support of the family and the coaches is part of that cohesion or that team player attitude that we're looking at. So again, you can see even individual sports acknowledge the importance of cohesion. Sure, it's not the same as a rugby player or a netball player or soccer player, right? Or soccer teams, because those are slightly different, okay? Where there's the interaction of players. But irrespective, cohesion is a concept that talks about the need for other people around us to support us and for us to also support them because they are part of the team. So where does this apply to the business world? Okay, one of my favorite role models, Jack Ma. Everybody knows Jack Ma, right? If we are a good team and know what we want to do, one of us can defeat 10 of them. Oh, I love this quote. And I get really inspired when Jack Ma speaks because he talks about, teamwork. And in his organization, if you heard his interviews in the past, the recent past, he always talks about leadership. And he always talks about, people on his team and things like that. So again, the quality of cohesion is so powerful and important in the business world. And lastly, CEO of PepsiCo, Indra Nui, she says, "Please help others rise. Greatness comes not from a position, but from helping build the future. We have an obligation to pull others up." And she's talking about her colleagues, right? Trying to help each other and supporting each other so as to help PepsiCo become successful in their business. So ladies and gentlemen, I've just shared with you all the 5 C's or the 5 qualities of mental toughness, and all used by successful elite athletes and also, successful business people. Okay? So I hope you're convinced. I hope you can see the power of what we're talking about tonight. And then what we're going to do next is I'm going to give you strategies straight off, right off the bat. Okay? So let's see what we've got. Remember this, right? Being calm, being focused, confident, being an overcomer, and team player. So we're going to look at two strategies, two research-backed strategies for each of these. So in total, there'll be 10 strategies coming up in a while. Here we go. The first one is, now again, you can find these at the website fb.com/mental toughness research blog. Please excuse there's no .com, yeah? The .com is already in the front, so excuse that spelling typo. So in this example, centered breathing reduces stress. So when you're agitated, here's what the research found. And all these are published research journal articles, right? Lengthen your exhales. So for example, a typical centering or mindfulness breathing exercise would be you take, let's say, for example, different people different, yeah, but this is just an example. You might take 4 seconds to breathe in, and then when you exhale, drag your out breath. So maybe 6 to 8 seconds in your out breath, and then repeat the cycle. What they found, the research, was that when you do this, what we call centered breathing or abdominal breathing, your heart rate actually slows down and your level of stress actually reduces. And this research was done in September this year, 2020. Another research is also saying that when you're stressed up, your attentional awareness narrows, and this one was in October, it's an October publication, it's a November publication that's coming out. Normally they pre-publish online, and then the hard physical copy comes out later. So the November one is probably, which is coming up in a few days' time. November's coming in, right? But this was out in October. So this is normally what we call pre-publication. But anyway, it's still the same. It's just that, they do it online first. But anyway, so stress narrows attentional awareness, which means to say when you're stressed, your mind, your perception tends to narrow, which also means that you will tend to filter out things that are important to you in your decision making or cues from the environment that will help you make good decisions, hopefully. But because of the increased stress, right, your narrow focus awareness takes place, and as such, you are filtering out important information. And as such, it also then leads to a knock-on effect of poor decision because you're not gathering useful, relevant information. You're filtering out things. So potentially whatever you're using in your decision making is not complete. And as such, you end up making mistakes. So have you ever had a situation where you're rushing for something and then you forgot to put something inside your proposal, or you submitted the wrong document, or you typed in the wrong website link or URL? Have you not done that? Well, actually, this one was on purpose. Have you not done that? Yes, you have. Why? Because you were in a rush. You were trying to get things done, but because of that rush, your narrow focus kind of awareness takes place, and so you didn't pick it up. So these two skills, this first one is about centering and calming yourself down. And when you calm yourself down, that helps you to become patient too, number one. And number two, it helps you widen up your awareness, which then helps you make better decisions. Okay? So that's calm or composure skills for you. The next one is concentration or focus. And this one's an interesting one. It says, for effective thoughts, right? Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So in this study they got people to not think of something. They tell them don't do something or don't think of something. Guess what? Even though people try not to think about it, they were unconsciously thinking about what they were told not to think about. But consciously they say, I didn't think about it. But when they did brain scans, they found that there was some residual memory of the words that were spoken. So your mind or your brain will never lie. And so the science is telling us that if you really want to focus properly and you want to do something, stay focused and tell yourself what it is you want to do. Tell yourself what is it you want to accomplish, not what you don't want to do. So instead of telling a person or yourself, don't do this or don't make that mistake, instead, tell yourself what should be done. This is the approach. This is the steps that you need to take. This way, you give the brain or the other person's brain that you're communicating with the message of what they need to think about, to focus on. So your words create pictures, and the pictures is what you focus, and your mind will use that to deliver your behaviors or your performance or whatever it is that you needed to do. Okay? So focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And here's another interesting concentration tip. And this one, again, is research backed. In this study, they found that when people were multitasking, they found that people were frowning when an email pops up or when there's a WhatsApp message or Facebook message. They found that people got irritated, especially when they were trying to stay focused on the task. People who got distracted, again, in this study they distracted people on purpose, of course. And they found that people who were multitasking, trying to do different things they were trying to do different things at the same time, or literally at the same time, or simultaneously. It was counterproductive. They found that people were not able to come back in or refocus again, and they found that people had difficulty to refocus. In fact, they took more time. They took more time to refocus back to the task when they first got distracted from. So it's like I'm working on task A, right? I'm doing my research paper, or I'm doing something, putting up a paper for my boss, whatever, right? And then there's an email that comes in. So what most people do is they will go to the email, right? Reply the email or WhatsApp, and then after that, they try to get back to their work. Now, that moment of trying to come back and refocus is where the time spent, microsecond even, right? If you do this a few times a day, you have lost many seconds and minutes even. And by the way, it takes up a lot more brain power to restart and rethink and refocus on the work. So here in this study, it is bad to multitask. That's what the bottom line is. So one of the things I personally do sometimes, and my friends who are watching here tonight, I let you know, sometimes I just switch off my WhatsApp so that I don't get distracted, because, every day I get lots of messages from, people, and for different reasons. So sometimes I just switch it off, and you will see just one tick in my WhatsApp, for example. Well, it's because I'm trying to stay focused. And then when I'm done with my task, then I switch on again, turn on my Wi-Fi or something, and then I will then reply or respond when I'm ready to reply. So forgive me if I do that, but again, I find that it helps me become more focused, and I'm more productive. And, when I'm also talking to you, I'm wholeheartedly talking with you in my chat or my replies. So again, some tips for you to help you be more focused in your work. Oh, by the way, many of us who are working from home currently face this challenge because there are so many distractions. So you have to find a way to filter out. Okay, so this recent study in May 2020 highlights this important fact that we need to learn not to multitask, and the brain is best at focusing on one thing at a time. Okay, the next skill is confidence, and this study showed that when you simulate, it will cause stress in you, because simulating a potential future is stress provoking, because it's something perhaps you don't want to see, you don't want to have, but it's something you may have to do. Simulation here means simulating a future situation, right? Predicting something, perhaps even to some extent negative or challenging, right? So it causes stress in people. But here's what they found. When you simulate a few more times, it actually reduces the stress, and more importantly, your confidence level goes up. So if you want to have more confidence in yourself and the work you do, right, simulate the stressful situations. Now, in some cases, you can't simulate it in reality because it's not feasible. Simulating in your mind is possible. Now, this is in the back, is with reference to a study they did with nurses. They got nurses to simulate medical conditions, and they were asked to do things that were quite stressful for them as nurses. But with multiple practices, their confidence level went up because they got used to it. The brain got used to that stressful situation. So again, if you can't do that simulation, you can always do it mentally. That means you imagine a stressful situation that you are going to encounter, you're predicting that might happen, and then see, hear, and feel yourself and imagine yourself overcoming and dealing with that situation well. Okay? And then another approach is to actually practice in your mind, to think about and visualize yourself doing those things. And one way is to recall past successes. So I have recorded this script. It's called Peak Performance Imagery, and you can listen to it. It's free on the website. You can go to bit.ly/mental toughness audio, and you can just play it back straight from the website. Okay? If you want a copy of it, you can actually pay a small fee, $1 or $2, for you to download it, and you can keep it for the rest of your life. Okay, so it's a good one because it gets you to think about successful performance in the past and get you to re-visualize or revisit that past to give you that confidence to know that, hey, you know what, I've done it before and I can do it again. Okay, so this peak performance imagery is a very powerful exercise, and it's called the movie theater exercise. When you listen to it, you understand what I mean. Okay, I'll leave you to do that. So it's bit.ly/mental toughness audio, and it's at the bottom of the page. Okay. All right. Copability is about coping with mistakes, setbacks, disappointment, and even sometimes failure, right? So in this study, they found that before moving on to a work-related interruption, which is similar to the other one, but this one goes into the specifics of how do you get back into focus again. Should you be interrupted? Let's be honest. There will still be distractions, even though you might shut down your WhatsApp and your emails and all that. There will be distractions, and sometimes these distractions are things you cannot control, and that's fine. So if those things happen and you have no choice, how do you deal with that? How do you come back again? So in sport and performance psychology, we always talk about this concept called refocusing plan. I don't allow the distraction to affect me. I will have a plan to deal with it, and if it happens, what am I going to do? So let's say you are going to reply to an email, and an email thing just came on, right? And you're going to reply. So what you want to do is when you're about to leave task A and go to the email, which is task B, what you want to do is think about, okay, where am I going to come back to? Here's a tip. Write down, important, write down what you're going to do when you come back, so that the mind puts closure when you come back to it, and you also have a plan to get back on track without losing the focus, because time is money in business. Time is opportunity, and time is also energy spent unnecessarily. Okay, so think about what you're going to do. So, okay, I am at this point, and when I come back, this is what I'm going to do. So put it down so that you won't forget visually, right? Put it on a notepad or something, right? And then, okay, reply, respond, do whatever, deal with the distraction, and that's fine. Life goes on, right? And then after that, when you come back, take a look at the note. Okay, I know what to do. Go on, boom, you're done. This way, your focus is on track, and you are able to quickly get back onto things, and you will not have wasted any time at all, in fact. Okay, so this is a powerful strategy, and this study was done in June 2020. Here's another tip. This one was when they got people who were really tired, and they found that one strategy of helping a person push through fatigue. Now, again, if you're really tired due to sickness or other issues, please go seek medical help. All right. I'm not asking you to, go beyond what your body can deal with. But if you're in a normal situation and, you're feeling challenged, this is a good strategy. right? It says, when the going gets tough, acknowledge it and challenge yourself to go beyond it. So here's what happens when people are facing a difficult time. What they try to do is they try to ignore it, they try to forget it, right? And by so doing, you're not helping yourself. You're in fact avoiding the situation. And in so doing, you're not helping yourself. And when you come back to it, you feel dread, you feel fear, you feel stressed. So what this study found was that when people were facing challenges, and in some cases physical challenges, what they did was a two-step strategy. First step was to acknowledge that I feel pain, I feel difficulty, I don't like this. Okay, they acknowledge their emotions, they acknowledge their feelings, they acknowledge what they're going through at that moment, and they're not lying to themselves. They just say, this is how I'm feeling right now. Okay, and then, but the second step is the next powerful strategy, and that is this. They challenge themselves. So I'm tired, but you know what? I'm going to get through this. All right? Rather than saying, I hate this, I cannot take it anymore, it's so painful, right? So they're trying to just ignore it, or they're trying to just feel bad about it. But successful people and successful elite performers accept and acknowledge the reality. They don't bluff themselves, number one. And number two, they think beyond what they're able to do. That means they encourage themselves internally in their thoughts to push further, to at least take a little bit more larger steps, so to speak, metaphorically. Okay? So that's a powerful strategy. In fact, all these strategies I'm sharing with you, as I mentioned, are all research backed, and you can check them out later if you come back to the video again and watch them, and you can check out the bit.ly links. These are all linked to actual research done. And lastly, in this example, in this research, it's about the fact that when people spend time with those you like and care about, your level of depression and negative emotions drop. And this is particularly true right now for many of us who may be working from home, WFH. And this is so true now. Again, some people might take this wrongly and say that in the workplace, I only work with people I like and ignore and don't help the people I don't like. No, I'm not saying that. And this is not what we're encouraging you. We're asking you to focus on spending more time with the people that are helpful to you, who are encouraging you, whom you like and whom you care about, and they care about you. Because that creates that positive emotion state, and that supports you in moving through the challenging situation that you might be encountering in your workplace right now. Okay, so people who are lonely generally feel more depressed, feel more anxious, and therefore lonely is something that is happening right now in this current pandemic situation. So find ways to connect, find ways to keep in touch with friends, close colleagues, people you care about, people who are important to you, and people you respect. Okay? Now, unfortunately, in some cases, we cannot meet face to face, but doing it digitally via Zoom and other platforms is fine, because that's the least you can do to help yourself. Okay? And then last but not least, there's a little video I want to show you. And this one is by this guy. Let me just try to find my file. Hold on one second. Sorry, the file just disappeared. Now, so what do you do when you're in a situation like this? Okay, here we go. Oh, some of you said no video. I think I know why, because I was sharing my app. So give me one moment. Let me retry that again. Here we go. Can you see the video now? Okay, let's try this. Here we go.
The Navy SEALs are one of the highest performing organizations on the planet. And a former Navy SEAL was asked, who makes it through BUDS? Who makes it through the selection process to become a SEAL? And he said, I can't tell you who gets through, who makes it, but I can tell you the kind of people who don't make it. He said the star college athletes that never have been really tested to the core of their being, none of them make it through. He said the preening leaders who like to delegate everything, none of them make it through. He said the big tough guys that come in with huge muscles, covered in tattoos, who want to prove to everyone how tough they are, none of them make it through. He said some of the guys that make it through are skinny and scrawny. He said some of the guys who make it through, you will see them shivering out of fear. He said, but every single one of them who makes it through, when they're emotionally exhausted, when they're physically exhausted, some way, somehow, they're able to dig down deep inside themselves to find the energy to help the person next to them. Service. Service. Giving to another, having their back, is what makes the highest performing teams in the world. Not their strength and not their intelligence. It's their willingness to be there for each other.
So there you go. Such an empowering message. And that's something that I want to encourage everyone. That, you know, cohesion is the missing link for many, many situations of today. And a lot of times, you know, people tend to go through difficult challenges alone. I want to encourage people who are joining us today that it's important that you seek social support, that you find ways to give and also receive. In fact, some studies also show that when you give social support to others, you are in turn gaining back in ways that you cannot measure or count. So find ways to do that. This will help you build mental toughness. This will help you build the ability to go through the challenges that you're facing every single day. So consider your closest people, your family, your close friends, people you care about, people who are important to you. Please connect back with them if you have not done so, because during this pandemic right now, is a difficult time for everybody. They also need your support. Consider that, okay? So with that, I'm done with my session. I hope you found something useful. There are 5 things we talked about, the 5 C's, if you will: composure, concentration, confidence, copability, and cohesion. And these are the 5 qualities that are so crucial in difficult times like today. And I hope that you're encouraged by that. And lastly, I have a last webinar for this year in 2020, and I just want to share that with you. We have completed the 3rd one in this series of 4, Work Smart, of course. We completed Exam Smart for those of us who have kids in school. And we talked about Fit Smart for us to try to maintain our fitness level during this pandemic situation. And tonight is the Work Smart topic. The next topic is on Kid Smart, developing stress-resilient children for school and life through the power of sport. And I'll share with you research that talks about the importance and relevance of sport in your children's lives. So if you have children from 3 years old all the way to teenagers, this session is for you. Now, with the exact date, we have not confirmed that yet. So one good thing for you to do is to please follow the SAFRA Tampines Facebook page, and when they have an update on the exact date, which will roughly be around November, late November and December period, you will be, notified straight away, and you will know. Okay, so go ahead and like and follow that page. And also, there's also another thing I wanted to share, and there's this Liberty SAFRA Swim for Hope. It's a charity swim, and it's now until November 15. So please participate, and there's more information on the Facebook page. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join me, and I hope you've taken some tips from what I've shared. Some people may have some questions. Oh yeah, I've also been reminded that, oh yeah, definitely, that there's a quiz after this show, and you'll be asked some questions on that, and then you're supposed to give the answer, and there will be 3 prizes, I believe. Yeah, 3 prizes for tonight's show. Yes, yes. My boss say yes. And then, yeah, so please try your luck on this one. But if you attended my, throughout the whole session, and especially the examples that I gave you, you should have the answer. You should know what the answers might be. Okay. So with that, thank you, everyone. I hope that you stay safe, and see you guys in the session 4 later this year. Thank you all. Take care. God bless.